5 years ago, my mom sent me away after my sister sabotaged my car to kill me. She whispered, "Sweetheart, you're safer far from here." When I begged her to stop, Maya, she said, "Her obsession has turned dangerous." I never looked back until she called yesterday, sobbing, asking how to fix what she let happen. I was always seen as the more dependable twin, though it was never officially stated. My parents would never say it directly, but whenever my sister Maya and I were together, she was the one who captured everyone's attention. Maya was born with a natural charm, athleticism, and a magnetic personality. I, on the other hand, was cautious, introverted, and easily overlooked. When we turned 9, my parents threw a huge party at a country club for her, surprising her with a gold necklace. I wasn't invited. Instead, my celebration was a quiet takeout dinner at home. My dad even forgot to get a cake, so I ended up making a wish on a birthday candle stuck in a donut. This pattern continued. Every school morning, my mom would make Maya fresh French toast with berries. My meal was usually instant oatmeal, which I ate standing up while being rushed out the door with a "don't be late" warning. The message was unmistakable. Popularity equaled value, and that was something I lacked. Until college, that is. College didn't just alter my circumstances, it completely transformed me. By the time I was 21, I had secured a tech internship, gained a sense of self-assurance, and started receiving opportunities one had never imagined. At first, I dismissed it as a temporary stroke of luck, something that would soon fade. I honestly didn't know how to handle my own success. Then, out of the blue, a full-time job offer appeared. This was real. No one was laughing. That's when it finally dawned on me. I truly had changed. So, I accepted the position. I'm not sure how Maya found out, but she did. The very same day, I came home to my mom telling me I needed to decline the offer. When I asked why, she said, "It's making Mia feel insecure. You have to think about the family." I stared at her, having no intention of turning down my dream job. Still, I tried to downplay my achievement because I wanted us to remain close and supportive of each other. But this wasn't enough for her. On multiple occasions, Maya managed to hack into my LinkedIn while I was sleeping and messaged my boss, claiming I wanted to resign for personal reasons. She even tried to contact HR to tell them I had lied on my resume. Her attempts never worked, but she never gave up. Then came my first significant presentation. I wore a navy suit that made me feel incredibly capable and professional. Our dad even commented that I looked successful. Maya remained silent for the rest of the month. Then she finally broke. I was driving one morning when I realized the steering wasn't responding. A concrete barrier loomed ahead, and my heart stopped. I genuinely believed I was going to die. I would have if I hadn't managed to pull the emergency brake just in time. I knew instantly that Maya was responsible, but I wasn't furious or heartbroken, just absolutely terrified. I drove home right away and found my mom and Mia sitting in the kitchen. "Maya, you're crazy. You could have called me," I said, my voice trembling. Maya just shrugged, but I could see genuine fear on my mom's face. "Mom, Maya tampered with my car. I could have been killed." My hands were shaking uncontrollably, but my mom just sat there, her face completely pale. "Mom, do you understand?" Then, she finally spoke. "Jenna, pack your things right now." I stood there for a full minute, completely stunned. She didn't say another word. She just called my cousin and told her I would be staying with her for a while. At that point, I was too shocked to argue. I just threw my essentials and laptop into a duffel bag before walking out to the car that was waiting. My mind was racing. But 5 minutes later, everything became clear because that's when she called me. "Sweetheart, I'm so sorry, but you'll be safer away from here." She was whispering, her voice trembling. "Your sister's obsession has become dangerous. It turns out a month ago, when your dad complimented you, your sister tampered with his brakes too." I was too scared to call the police because Mia threatened that if any authorities got involved, she would frame both of us. Suddenly, it all clicked into place. I could tell from her tone that she had finally realized her mistakes with Maya, too. But I didn't care about that anymore. You see, Maya now believed she was untouchable, that nothing could stop her, that I was the weak one. I was about to show her just how wrong she was about everything. My cousin's apartment became my sanctuary, though Mia's digital harassment started immediately. She made fake social media profiles to spread lies about me, sent anonymous emails to my coworkers claiming I was mentally unstable, and even attempted to hack into my work systems. I changed all my passwords, activated two-factor authentication on every account, and started documenting everything. The first week at my cousin's place, I barely got any sleep. Every car door slamming made me jump. Every call from an unknown number made my heart pound. Maya barraged me with texts, alternating between threats and false apologies. I blocked her number, but she just used burner phones. The messages grew more unhinged, detailing how she would fix our family dynamic once I was gone. My workplace became another battleground. Anonymous complaints about my unprofessional behavior flooded HR. Someone kept ordering food deliveries to the office in my name, refusing to pay. My computer mouse would mysteriously vanish. Important files got corrupted, and my parking spot was repeatedly taken by cars with no license plates. The security footage always seemed to malfunction during these incidents. I started arriving at work an hour early, parking in different spots, and backing up everything to multiple cloud services. My supervisor, Nancy, pulled me aside after noticing my paranoid behavior. I gave her a simplified version of my family troubles, and she quietly moved my desk to a more secure area near her office. Maya's tactics evolved. She impersonated me online, applying for credit cards and loans. She posted my resume on sketchy job sites with my personal phone number. She even created dating profiles using my photos, giving out my work address to random men. I spent hours each day doing damage control, filing fraud reports, and explaining to confused strangers that I had not actually invited them to lunch. The breaking point came when Maya somehow found my new address. I found her sitting in her car outside my cousin's building at 3 a.m., just watching. When I confronted her through the window, she smiled and held up her phone, showing me a photo of me sleeping from the night before. She'd been inside. My cousin hadn't locked the balcony door. I called the police, but Mia drove away before they arrived. Without evidence of breaking and entering, they couldn't do anything. The officer suggested a restraining order, but I knew Mia's threat about framing us wasn't empty. She'd already shown she was capable of attempted murder. My cousin installed new locks, security cameras, and an alarm system. We varied our routines, checked for tracking devices, and never posted our locations online. I started learning about cybersecurity, personal protection, and legal self-defense. Maya had forced me to become someone I never thought I'd be: calculating, suspicious, always planning 3 steps ahead. Work became my only escape, though Mia tried to poison that, too. She called, pretending to be my doctor, claiming I had a contagious disease. She filed false workplace injury claims in my name. She even showed up once, pretending to be a client, but security recognized her from the photo I had circulated. My mom called weekly, her voice always strained. She had moved to her sister's house temporarily, too afraid to stay home with Mia. Dad refused to believe how bad things had gotten, insisting Mia just needed therapy. Their marriage was crumbling, another casualty of Mia's obsession. I started building a case file, screenshots of every threat, recordings of voicemails, documentation of each incident. My cousin's friend, a paralegal, helped me understand what would hold up legally. We weren't planning to go to court, but I needed leverage. Maya's attacks became more desperate. She tried to access my bank accounts, called my company's biggest clients with lies about our services, and even attempted to cancel my health insurance. Each scheme required hours to unravel, eating into my work performance and mental health. 3 months into this nightmare, I discovered Maya had been recording our family for years. She'd hidden cameras throughout our childhood home, documenting every moment that made her look like a victim. Carefully edited, these videos could easily support her threat to frame us. The revelation made me physically ill, but it also gave me an idea. If Maya could document everything, so could I. I started recording every interaction, every phone call, and every suspicious incident. I hired a private investigator to follow her, gathering evidence of her stalking and harassment. It cost most of my savings, but I needed ammunition. The investigator uncovered something unexpected. Maya had done this before. In high school, she'd targeted a classmate who had won a scholarship she wanted. That girl's family had moved away after mysterious accidents and social media harassment. The pattern was clear. I wasn't her first victim, just her most persistent target. This knowledge changed everything. I wasn't dealing with a sister having a breakdown. I was facing a calculated predator who had perfected her methods over years. The investigator found 2 other victims, both too scared to speak publicly, but willing to share their experiences privately. Their stories mirrored mine: escalating harassment, family manipulation, and threats of false accusations. I realized I couldn't just defend myself anymore. I had to go on the offensive, but it had to be smart, legal, and leave me in no room to retaliate. I started studying her patterns, her weaknesses, her dependencies. Mia might be cunning, but she was also predictable. Her narcissism would be her downfall. The investigator's findings gave me a framework to work with. Mia's previous victims had all made the same mistake. They tried to escape without fighting back. I wouldn't repeat their error. My first move involved creating decoy social media accounts under variations of my name. When Maya inevitably found and attacked them, I documented every interaction. She fell for it immediately, spending hours crafting elaborate lies about a person who didn't exist. Meanwhile, my real accounts remained secure and professional. Nancy noticed my improved focus at work. Without the constant interruptions from Mia's harassment, I excelled at my projects. She assigned me to lead a new client presentation, a career-defining opportunity. I knew Mia would find out and try to sabotage it. So, I prepared accordingly. I fed false information through channels I knew Mia monitored. I mentioned the wrong date, the wrong location, and the wrong client name in emails to my cousin, knowing Mia had somehow accessed her accounts. Sure enough, Maya showed up at the decoy location, dressed professionally, ready to impersonate me. Security cameras at the real venue captured her confused rage when she realized she had been tricked. The actual presentation went flawlessly. Our client signed a multi-year contract, and Nancy promoted me to senior analyst. I celebrated quietly, knowing Maya would escalate once she learned about my success. She didn't disappoint. Within days, my apartment building's fire alarm went off at 2 a.m. Everyone evacuated, but I noticed something odd. Only our floor's alarm had triggered. Security footage showed a figure matching Maya's build near the alarm panel minutes before. She had wanted to get me outside, where I would be vulnerable. I started varying my schedule dramatically. Some days I'd leave for work at 5 a.m., other days at noon. I'd take different routes, use ride shares instead of my car, and sometimes work at coffee shops. Maya's attempts to track me became increasingly frantic. She would wait outside my building for hours, only to discover I had left through the service entrance. My cousin proved invaluable during this time. She'd pretend to be me, wearing my clothes and driving my car, leading Maya on wild goose chases across town. We documented every instance of Maya following the decoy, building our evidence file. The paralegal friend suggested I start a paper trail with authorities without formally pressing charges. I filed reports for identity theft, cyber harassment, and stalking. Each report created an official record, establishing a pattern of behavior. The officers couldn't act without formal complaints, but they noted the escalating nature of the incidents. Maya's frustration manifested in increasingly reckless behavior. She started showing up at my workplace during client meetings, claiming family emergencies. Security would escort her out, but the disruptions were affecting my reputation. Nancy understood the situation, but I could see her patience wearing thin. I decided to use Mia's narcissism against her. I created a fake company newsletter announcing my promotion, but with a crucial detail. It mentioned I would be transferring to our Seattle office. The newsletter looked authentic, complete with company letterhead and executive signatures. I made sure it reached Maya through carefully orchestrated leaks. Her reaction was immediate and predictable. She booked flights to Seattle, researched apartments there, and even applied for jobs in the area. While she focused on this false lead, I quietly solidified my position at the local office. Nancy approved my request for a private office with key card access, citing security concerns. Mom's calls became more desperate. She reported that Maya had become obsessed with moving to Seattle, spending their savings on preparation for the move. Dad finally started noticing the financial drain, questioning where their money was going. The cracks in Mia's facade were showing. I learned from the investigator that Mia's previous victims had all tried to handle things alone. I wouldn't make that mistake. I quietly built a support network, trusted colleagues, my cousin's friends, and even some clients who had witnessed Mia's disruptions. They all agreed to document any interactions with her. The Seattle ruse bought me 3 weeks of peace. During that time, I implemented every security measure possible. I installed cameras in my car, carried a personal alarm, and even took self-defense classes. The instructor, a former police officer, taught me more than physical defense. He showed me how to document threats properly, how to establish patterns of behavior that courts would recognize. Maya returned from Seattle enraged. She had discovered the deception. When she tried to surprise me at the non-existent Seattle office, her harassment resumed with doubled intensity. She slashed my tires, requiring expensive replacements. She sent explicit photos to my professional contacts, claiming I was running an escort service. She even tried to poison my reputation with our extended family, spinning tales of my supposed substance addiction and mental instability. Each attack required careful countermoves. I had mechanics document the tire damage. I worked with IT to trace the explicit emails back to Mia's IP address. I reached out to family members individually, sharing evidence of Mia's harassment. Some believed me, others remained skeptical, but I was building a coalition of support. The turning point came when Mia made a critical error. She attempted to access my work computer using stolen credentials. What she didn't know was that Nancy had authorized enhanced security monitoring on my accounts. Every keystroke was logged. Every access attempt was traced. Mia triggered multiple security alerts, and this time, it wasn't anonymous. Our IT department traced the breach to a specific location, a coffee shop near Mia's apartment. Security footage from the shop showed her clearly using a laptop to attempt the breach. For the first time, We had indisputable evidence of her criminal behavior that didn't rely on family testimony. Nancy called me into her office. She laid out the evidence, her expression grave. The company could press charges for corporate espionage and attempted data theft. These were serious crimes with real consequences. She gave me 24 hours to decide whether to involve law enforcement officially. I spent that night weighing my options. Pressing charges would mean confronting Mia's threats about framing the family, but I had spent months building a defensive case. Every threat she had made was documented. Every false accusation had been disproven. Every instance of harassment was recorded. I called Mom that night. She was crying before I even explained the situation. Mia had grown increasingly unstable. She admitted she had found Mia's journal, which was filled with detailed plans to destroy my life. The entries went back years, documenting her resentment and planning. Mom finally understood the depth of Mia's obsession. She revealed something that changed everything. Mia had been in therapy as a child for similar behavior toward classmates. The records had been sealed, but they existed. If Mia tried to paint me as the aggressor, these historical documents would prove her pattern of behavior. Armed with this knowledge, I made my decision. But I wouldn't go through official channels yet. Instead, I would give Mia one last chance to stop, using the leverage I had built. I arranged a meeting through Mom, insisting it be in a public place with security cameras. Mia agreed, probably thinking she had finally broken me. We met at a busy restaurant during the lunch rush, ensuring plenty of witnesses. I placed a folder on the table between us. Inside were copies of everything: the IT security logs, the investigator's report on her previous victims, screenshots of every threat, and documentation of every incident. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. Mia's face cycled through emotions as she reviewed the documents: rage, fear, disbelief, and finally, a cold calculation. She tried to maintain her composure, but I could see her hands shaking. For the first time in months, I had the upper hand. I explained her options clearly. She could stop all harassment immediately, seek professional help, and leave me alone permanently, or I would submit this evidence to both law enforcement and her employer. The choice was hers, but she had 48 hours to decide. Mia tried to negotiate, to threaten, to manipulate, but I had learned her tactics. I remained calm, referring back to the evidence whenever she tried to deflect. Other diners glanced our way occasionally, sensing the tension but not understanding its source. She made one last desperate play, pulling out her phone to show me the edited videos from our childhood. I responded by showing her my own phone, displaying the therapy records Mom had mentioned. Her face went white. She hadn't known those records existed or that I had found them. The meeting ended with Mia taking the folder and leaving without another word. I stayed at the restaurant for another hour, documenting the encounter in my journal and backing up all my files to multiple secure locations. The next 48 hours were the longest of my life. I stayed with different friends each night, never sleeping in the same place twice. I carried pepper spray and kept my phone recording constantly, but Mia had gone silent. No texts, no emails, no surprise visits. The silence was almost more terrifying than her harassment. On the morning of the deadline, I received a single email from Mia. It contained no text, just an attachment, a signed agreement to cease all contact and seek professional help. I had my lawyer review it, confirm its legitimacy, and file it appropriately. But I knew better than to trust Mia's word alone. I maintained all my security measures, continued documenting everything, and kept my support network informed. Mia might have agreed to stop, but I had learned that predators don't change overnight. The real test came 2 weeks later. Nancy announced my promotion publicly, complete with a substantial raise and expanded responsibilities. In the past, this would have triggered an immediate response from Mia, but there was nothing. No harassment, no sabotage attempts, no anonymous complaints. I allowed myself a small celebration with my cousin and close friends. We had won this battle, but I remained vigilant. Mia's pattern suggested she would test boundaries eventually, looking for weaknesses in my defenses. Sure enough, a month later, I noticed someone had been asking about me at my gym. The description matched Mia. She hadn't approached me directly, but she was testing the waters. I immediately informed the gym management, showing them Mia's photo and explaining the situation. They banned her from the premises and added her to their security watch list. This became our new dynamic. Mia would probe indirectly, trying to gather information or test my defenses. I would respond by closing whatever avenue she had found, documenting her attempt, and reinforcing my boundaries. It was exhausting, but necessary. Mom reported that Mia had indeed started therapy, though she doubted its effectiveness. Mia was going through the motions to avoid legal consequences, not because she genuinely wanted to change. Dad had finally acknowledged the severity of the situation after seeing the evidence I had compiled. Their marriage was strained but surviving. 3 months after our restaurant meeting, I made another strategic move. I applied for and received a restraining order based on the documented harassment. Maya hadn't technically violated our agreement, but her continued indirect monitoring constituted stalking. The judge, reviewing months of evidence, granted a comprehensive protection order. Mia was served at her workplace. It was a calculated move on my part. Her colleagues witnessed the service, ensuring she couldn't deny it happened or claim ignorance. The order prohibited her from coming within 500 feet of me, my home, or my workplace. It also banned all forms of contact, direct or indirect. The restraining order had an unexpected effect. Maya's employer, learning about the situation, placed her on administrative leave pending an investigation. Her carefully crafted professional image crumbled as colleagues distanced themselves. The consequences she had tried to inflict on me were visiting her instead. I heard through family that Maya tried to spin the situation, claiming I was the aggressor who had ruined her life. But the evidence spoke louder than her words. Even her closest friends began questioning her stories when faced with the documented truth. My life gradually stabilized. Work flourished without constant disruptions. I started dating someone Nancy had introduced me to, though I was upfront about my security concerns. He understood and respected my boundaries, even offering to vary our date locations to avoid patterns Mia might track. The investigator provided quarterly updates on Mia's activities. She had lost her job and moved back with our parents. Her attempts to find new employment were hampered by the restraining order and the circumstances of her termination. She was experiencing the professional destruction she had tried to orchestrate for me. I felt no satisfaction in her downfall, only relief that the immediate threat had passed. But I knew this wasn't over. People like Maya don't simply accept defeat. They regroup, plan, and wait for opportunities. I had to remain prepared for whatever came next. My cousin and I developed a long-term security protocol. We regularly updated passwords, monitored credit reports, and maintained awareness of our surroundings. What had started as crisis management became routine personal security. Mia had inadvertently taught me valuable lessons about self-protection. The paralegal friend helped me understand the legal implications of our situation. The restraining order was just paper unless Maya violated it. But each documented instance of indirect contact strengthened my position. We were building a case that would support stronger legal action if necessary. 6 months after the restaurant confrontation, I achieved something I had thought impossible: a full week without thinking about Maya. I was in the middle of a major project at work, focused entirely on client needs and deliverables. It wasn't until Sunday evening that I realized I hadn't checked my security cameras or documented any incidents all week. This milestone marked a shift in my recovery. While I maintained security measures, they no longer dominated my thoughts. I was reclaiming my life piece by piece. Maya's shadow still loomed, but it no longer defined my daily existence. Mom visited me for the first time since I had left home. We met at a neutral location, a quiet cafe downtown. She looked older, worn down by the family drama. We talked about everything except Mia at first, reconnecting over coffee and shared memories of better times. Eventually, she brought up the subject I had been avoiding. Mia was struggling. She said therapy wasn't working because Mia refused to engage honestly. She still maintained she was the victim, despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. The therapist had suggested inpatient treatment, but Mia refused. I listened without comment, offering neither sympathy nor solutions. This wasn't my problem to solve. I had protected myself and built a new life. Mia's recovery or lack thereof was her responsibility. Mom seemed to understand my position, though I could see the pain it caused her. We established new boundaries for our relationship. Mom could visit me, but she couldn't share information about my life with Mia. She couldn't pressure me to reconcile or forgive. Our relationship would exist independently of Mia's issues. Mom agreed, though I knew it would be difficult for her to maintain these boundaries. Dad reached out separately. His approach was more practical. He wanted to understand how Mia had hidden her behavior for so long. I shared what I had learned about her pattern of targeting perceived threats, her careful image management, and her skill at manipulation. He listened intently, finally seeing the daughter he had overlooked for years. Our conversation revealed the depth of family dysfunction that had enabled Mia's behavior. The favoritism, the different standards, the willingness to sacrifice my needs for Maya's comfort. Dad apologized, genuinely remorseful for his role in creating this dynamic. It didn't erase the past, but it was a start. Work continued to provide stability and growth. Nancy promoted me again, this time to team lead. The position came with direct reports and higher visibility within the company. I had achieved the professional success Mia had tried to destroy, and I had done it through merit, not manipulation. My relationship deepened as well. My boyfriend understood the security measures weren't paranoia, but necessary precautions. He had witnessed one of Maya's indirect attempts at contact, a strange woman asking about me at a restaurant we frequented. His support validated my experiences in a way family never had. The one-year anniversary of leaving home approached. I reflected on the transformation this crisis had forced upon me. I had evolved from a cautious, overlooked twin into a strategic, self-protective professional. Maya's attempts to destroy me had instead forged me into someone stronger. But strength came with costs. I struggled with trust, always analyzing motives and looking for hidden agendas. Hypervigilance had become second nature. My therapist worked with me on distinguishing reasonable caution from trauma responses. Recovery wasn't just about physical safety, but emotional healing. The investigator's latest report brought concerning news. Maya had been researching legal loopholes around restraining orders. She had joined online forums for people who claimed to be falsely accused of stalking. She was building a narrative of victimhood, gathering strategies from others who had faced similar restrictions. I prepared for the next phase of our conflict. Mia was planning something, and I needed to be ready. I consulted with a criminal attorney, understanding my options if Mia escalated. The lawyer reviewed my documentation. Impressed by the thoroughness of my evidence collection, we developed contingency plans for various scenarios. My support network had evolved into a sophisticated early warning system. Colleagues, friends, neighbors, and service providers all knew to alert me to any suspicious inquiries. This distributed security meant Mia couldn't easily gather intelligence about my routines or vulnerabilities. The restraining order renewal date approached. I had to decide whether to extend it or let it expire. Mia hadn't violated it directly, but the indirect monitoring continued. The lawyer advised renewal, citing the pattern of behavior and recent online activity. I agreed, knowing it would anger Mia but prioritizing my safety. The renewal hearing provided an opportunity to update the court on Mia's continued obsession. The judge reviewed the investigator's reports, the documented indirect contact attempts, and Mia's online activity. She granted a 2-year extension with expanded provisions, including digital harassment and third-party contact. Mia attended the hearing, her first time seeing me in nearly a year. She had changed physically, looking gaunt and angry. She tried to make eye contact, but I focused on the judge. Her lawyer argued I was paranoid and vindictive, but the evidence contradicted every claim. The judge's decision was swift and decisive. After the hearing, Mia's lawyer approached mine with a proposal. Maya would agree to permanent no contact if I dropped the restraining order. The offer revealed her true concern. The public record was affecting her ability to rebuild her life. I refused. The restraining order was non-negotiable. This legal victory marked another turning point. Maya realized I wouldn't be manipulated or intimidated into dropping my protections. Her options were narrowing, and her frustration was evident in the increasingly desperate indirect attempts to gather information about me. The restraining order extension triggered exactly the response I had anticipated. Maya's online activity exploded across multiple platforms. She created elaborate posts painting herself as a victim of sibling jealousy, carefully omitting every dangerous action she had taken. Her narrative gained traction among certain online communities that specialized in perceived injustices. I discovered this through my monitoring systems when several anonymous accounts began probing my social media presence. The language patterns matched Mia's writing style perfectly. She was building an army of sympathizers, people who believed her fabricated story of persecution. My security consultant recommended expanding our digital footprint analysis. We discovered Maya had been systematically contacting my professional connections through fake recruiter profiles, fishing for information about my schedule and responsibilities. 3 separate colleagues reported suspicious LinkedIn messages asking detailed questions about our team structure. The pattern revealed her next target, my upcoming industry conference presentation. This opportunity represented everything Maya couldn't stand: professional recognition, peer respect, and tangible career advancement. I knew she'd make her move there. I implemented a comprehensive security plan for the conference. My employer agreed to register me under a department pseudonym, book accommodations separately from other attendees, and provide a discreet security presence. Nancy personally coordinated with conference organizers to ensure Mia couldn't access the venue. 2 weeks before the conference, Mia's desperation manifested in a new tactic. She began contacting my boyfriend's family, spinning tales of my supposed mental instability and manipulation. His mother received tearful phone calls from a concerned family member warning about my dangerous behavior. His sister found anonymous letters in her mailbox detailing fabricated incidents. My boyfriend's family, thankfully, saw through the manipulation immediately. They had witnessed enough of my security measures to understand the real situation. His mother began documenting every contact attempt, adding to our ever-growing evidence file. His family's support proved invaluable during this escalation. Maya's next move targeted my professional reputation more directly. She created a sophisticated fake website mimicking our company's design, populated with fabricated client testimonials criticizing my work. She then began an email campaign directing potential clients to this site, hoping to sabotage my department's growth. Our IT team discovered the fraud within hours. They traced the domain registration through several proxy services, but the payment method led back to Maya's new credit card. This constituted a clear violation of the restraining order, direct harassment affecting my employment. We finally had grounds for criminal charges. I met with the district attorney's office, presenting our meticulously documented case. The prosecutor reviewed everything: the attempted murder through brake tampering, the identity theft, the corporate espionage, and now the criminal harassment. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. The prosecutor offered a deal. Maya could plead guilty to lesser charges and receive mandatory psychiatric treatment with monitoring, or face trial for attempted murder and multiple felonies. The choice would be hers, but arrest was imminent either way. I struggled with the decision to move forward. Despite everything, part of me still remembered the sister who had shared my childhood. But Maya had chosen this path repeatedly, escalating despite every opportunity to stop. My safety and sanity required decisive action. The arrest happened at our parents' house during a family dinner. I wasn't present, but Mom called me afterward, sobbing. Mia had fought the officers, screaming about conspiracy and injustice. Dad finally saw the full extent of her delusions as she ranted about her plans to reclaim her rightful place. Mia's lawyer contacted mine within hours, desperately negotiating. The evidence against her was insurmountable. Her online activities, the fake website, the documented harassment, everything pointed to a pattern of escalating criminal behavior. She faced potential decades in prison if convicted on all charges. The negotiations revealed more disturbing information. Maya had been planning something she called the final solution, a detailed scheme to frame me for embezzlement at work while simultaneously destroying my relationship and friendships. The prosecutor found these plans on her seized electronics, adding conspiracy charges to her growing list. I attended the preliminary hearing, sitting in the gallery with my support network. Maya appeared in an orange jumpsuit and shackles. Her carefully maintained image was finally shattered. She tried to catch my eye, but I focused on the proceedings. The judge reviewed the charges, each one a consequence of her choices. Mia's parents hired a prestigious defense attorney, who immediately pushed for a psychiatric evaluation. The results confirmed what I had long suspected: narcissistic personality disorder with antisocial features. The evaluation detailed her inability to accept responsibility and her persistent belief that she was entitled to whatever I had achieved. The prosecutor presented a modified deal based on the psychiatric findings. Maya would plead guilty to reduced charges, serve 2 years in a secure psychiatric facility, followed by 5 years of intensive monitoring and continued treatment. Any violation would result in immediate incarceration for the full sentence. Maya initially refused, insisting on her innocence despite overwhelming evidence. Her attorney spent days explaining the futility of a trial. The brake tampering alone could result in an attempted murder conviction. The corporate espionage carried federal charges. The identity theft and harassment charges would likely run consecutively. I received a letter from Maya through her attorney. It wasn't an apology. She remained incapable of that. Instead, it was a rambling manifesto about how I had stolen her life, her future, and her identity. The letter itself became evidence of her continued delusions and inability to accept reality. The conference approached amid this legal chaos. I refused to let Mia's situation derail my professional growth. My presentation focused on innovative security protocols, ironically, inspired by my personal experiences. The audience responded enthusiastically, unaware of the real-world testing behind my recommendations. Maya finally accepted the plea deal after her attorney showed her the potential trial outcomes. The security footage of her brake tampering had been recovered from a nearby business. Her digital footprint revealed years of planning and escalation. A trial would mean certain conviction and decades of imprisonment. The sentencing hearing provided closure I hadn't expected. The judge read victim impact statements from Mia's previous targets, young women whose lives she had disrupted years earlier. Their courage in coming forward strengthened the case for maximum psychiatric intervention. Mia sat stone-faced throughout, still unable to acknowledge her actions. I submitted a written statement rather than speaking in court. I detailed the fear, the constant vigilance, the professional obstacles, and the family destruction Mia had caused. But I also expressed hope that treatment might finally address the underlying issues that drove her behavior. The judge accepted the plea agreement with modifications. Mia would serve 3 years in a psychiatric facility, not 2. Her post-release monitoring would include regular polygraph tests to ensure compliance. Any contact attempt, direct or indirect, would result in an immediate return to custody. Maya was remanded immediately after sentencing. As officers led her away, she turned back one final time. Her expression held no remorse, only cold calculation. I knew then that her treatment would be a long, difficult process with no guaranteed outcome. The aftermath brought unexpected challenges. Our parents struggled with guilt and grief. They had enabled Maya's behavior for years, sacrificing my well-being for her comfort. Now they faced the consequences of those choices. Their marriage barely survived the strain. I established firm boundaries with my parents. Our relationship could rebuild, but only with family therapy and a clear acknowledgement of past dynamics. They agreed, desperate to salvage something from the wreckage. Progress came slowly, with many difficult conversations about favoritism and enabling. My professional life flourished without Maya's constant interference. The conference presentation led to consulting opportunities and speaking engagements. Nancy promoted me to department head, recognizing my contributions to company security protocols. Success felt different now, earned through perseverance rather than just merit. The security measures I had implemented became permanent fixtures in my life, not from paranoia, but from hard-learned wisdom. I maintained situational awareness, protected my personal information, and trusted my instincts. Maya had inadvertently taught me valuable survival skills. My relationship with my boyfriend deepened through shared adversity. He had witnessed the worst of my family dysfunction and chosen to stay. We built our connection on honesty, security, and mutual respect. When he proposed a year later, I said yes without hesitation. The wedding planning revealed how much I had grown. I implemented security protocols without apology, screening vendors and limiting information sharing. Our celebration would be joyful but protected. Mia's absence felt like freedom rather than loss. Mom attended the wedding, finally accepting her role in enabling Mia's behavior. She had completed months of therapy, working to understand how her favoritism had fostered such dysfunction. Dad came too, our relationship slowly healing through honest communication and accountability. The investigator provided final reports on Mia's status. She remained in treatment, her progress minimal but present. The facility reported she had begun acknowledging some actions, though full accountability remained elusive. Her therapist warned that personality disorders required years of intensive work. I chose to maintain the restraining order despite Maya's incarceration. Legal protection provided peace of mind as I built my new life. The order would remain in effect throughout her treatment and monitoring period, a paper shield against future contact attempts. My cousin remained my closest confidant through everything. We had weathered this storm together, our bond strengthened by shared vigilance and mutual support. She served as my maid of honor, understanding the significance of celebrating without fear. The wedding day arrived without incident. Security discreetly monitored the venue, but no threats materialized. I walked down the aisle feeling truly free for the first time in years. Maya's shadow no longer darkened my happiness. Our honeymoon included no social media posts or location sharing. These habits, born from necessity, had become second nature. Privacy wasn't paranoia, but self-preservation. We celebrated quietly, safely, joyfully. Returning to work, I found my experiences had unexpected value. Other employees facing stalking or harassment sought my advice. I developed company protocols for supporting staff through similar situations. My trauma transformed into expertise that helped others. The 1-year anniversary of Mia's sentencing passed quietly. Her treatment reports showed minimal progress. She had learned to mimic appropriate responses without genuine understanding. The facility recommended extended treatment, which the court approved. Public safety outweighed her preferences. I built my life deliberately now. Career advancement came through careful planning and strategic thinking. Relationships developed slowly with clear boundaries and mutual respect. Every choice reflected hard-won wisdom about human nature and self-protection. My story spread through professional networks, though I shared it selectively. Other targets of family violence found hope in my survival. I spoke at security conferences about personal protection, turning trauma into teaching opportunities. My experiences helped others recognize and escape similar situations. The restraining order renewal came automatically, the court recognizing the ongoing need. Maya's facility reports indicated continued treatment resistance. She maintained her victim narrative, despite years of therapeutic intervention. Some people, I learned, choose their delusions over difficult truths. I achieved professional recognition through my own merits. Industry publications featured my security protocols. Colleagues sought my expertise on threat assessment. The success Maya had tried to steal flourished beyond her reach. My marriage strengthened through conscious effort and communication. We built our home with security in mind. Cameras, alarms, and careful information management. These precautions felt normal now, integrated seamlessly into daily life. 5 years after leaving home, I had built everything Maya tried to destroy. Career success, a loving relationship, genuine friendships, and hard-won peace. The cost had been high. Innocence lost, family fractured, trust rebuilt slowly. But I had survived and thrived despite her best efforts. The final facility report arrived on a quiet Tuesday. Maya had been approved for supervised release to a halfway house. Strict conditions applied: continued therapy, medication compliance, employment restrictions, and zero contact with victims. Any violation meant an immediate return to custody. I felt no fear at this news, only resolve. My life was protected by layers of security, legal documentation, and a supportive community. Maya had taught me vigilance, and I had learned the lesson well. She could rejoin society under supervision, but she would never again access my world. I filed updated protection orders with Mia's release information. Local law enforcement received her photo and details. My security network activated, everyone alert, but not alarmed. Preparation prevented panic. Life continued forward. Each day, building on the foundation of hard-won stability, I mentored young professionals, sharing wisdom about workplace security and personal boundaries. My experiences, processed through years of therapy, became tools for helping others protect themselves. The girl who had eaten instant oatmeal standing up, forgotten and dismissed, no longer existed. In her place stood a woman who had faced attempted murder, survived sophisticated harassment, and built success despite family betrayal. Mia's obsession had forged me into someone stronger than either of us had imagined possible. I chose my battles carefully now, understanding that some people remained unsafe regardless of time or treatment. Maya would always be dangerous to me, her narcissism too deep for real change. But I had learned to protect myself, to build boundaries that held, and to create success she couldn't touch. My story wasn't about revenge or reconciliation. It was about survival, growth, and the decision to build rather than destroy. While Maya served her sentence and faced her demons, I had constructed a life of purpose, security, and joy. The responsible twin had become the resilient survivor.